There are three kinds of silence on a mountain. The first is peace, the kind that makes a man think he's found something worth keeping. The second is waiting, the trees holding their breath before a storm rolls in. The third is the silence after you've lost everything, when the only sound left is your own heartbeat reminding you that you're still here, still breathing, still alone. I knew all three. Spent 11 years learning the difference between quiet and empty, between solitude and running, between a man who chooses to be alone and a man who doesn't deserve anything else. Then one October morning I heard screaming coming from Thunder Creek. 2 children, drowning. I had 48 hours to find a wife or watch them disappear into the system 600 miles away. Separated, lost. Like everything else I'd failed to save. So I walked into a saloon full of strangers and did something I swore I'd never do again. I asked for help. What happened next wasn't salvation. It was harder than that. It was hope. The cabin smelled like wet wool and wood smoke when I finally got them inside Caleb. The boy's name was Caleb Morrison, 8 years old, skinny as a fence rail, eyes like his father's. I knew because I'd seen his father's eyes. Dead. Staring up through 3 feet of creek water while I pulled his children to shore. The girl was Pearl, 5, maybe younger. Hard to tell when a child's that scared. She hadn't made a sound since I fished her out. Not crying, not talking. Just this hollow breathing that reminded me of wounded animals I'd found in traps. I wrapped them both in every blanket I owned. Started a fire. Boiled water for coffee I knew they wouldn't drink. Caleb watched me. Tracked every movement like he was waiting for me to turn into something worse than what he'd already seen. "Your parents," I finally said. "I know." His voice cracked. I saw them go under. Pearl was in his lap, her little fingers twisted into his shirt. "Wouldn't let go? You got other family? Aunts? Uncles? Grandparents back east?" "Just us now," the way he said it, like he'd already done the math, already understood the arithmetic of loss. I should have taken them to town right then, should have handed them over to proper authorities who knew how to handle orphaned children. But the creek was running high, the temperature dropping, and something in Caleb's eyes made me think one more night of stability might matter. So I gave them my bed, made a pallet for myself near the stove, listened to Pearl whimper in her sleep, while Caleb whispered things I couldn't hear. Brother talk. The kind that tries to hold the world together when everything else has fallen apart. I didn't sleep. Hadn't slept well in 11 years anyway. The morning came cold and bright. I made porridge from oats and honey. Caleb ate 3 bowls. Pearl wouldn't touch it. "We need to go to town," I told them. "There's people there. People who help with situations like this." "What kind of situations?" Caleb's jaw was set, defensive. "Kids who lost their folks. We're not going to an orphanage." I didn't say, "That's what happens." I heard Papa talk about it once. Kids with no family go to orphanages. They separate boys and girls, send them to different places. Pearl made a sound. First one since the creek. This tiny animal noise of pure terror, that's not. But I stopped, because maybe it was true. I didn't know the law. Hadn't needed to know it. "Please." Caleb's voice went small. "Don't make us go." And there it was, the thing I'd been running from for 11 years, someone needing me, someone asking me to make a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. "We'll figure something out," I heard myself say, which was a lie. Or maybe just hope dressed up as certainty. Ashford was 14 miles down the mountain. We took my wagon. The horse was old but steady, the kind of horse that doesn't spook it much. Caleb sat up front with me, Pearl wedged between us, still not talking. Still hanging on to her brother like he was the last solid thing in the world. The town hadn't changed. Same 24 buildings hunched against the Wyoming wind. Murphy's Saloon, Henderson's General Store, the land office, the church with its crooked steeple that someone kept saying they'd fix but never did. Judge Aldrich kept an office above the barber shop. "That's where I headed first, Mr. Stone." Aldrich looked up from his desk, surprised. "I didn't come to town often, maybe twice a year for supplies." "What brings you down from your mountain?" "Got a situation," I explained. "The wagon, the creek, The bodies I'd left wrapped in canvas by the water's edge because I couldn't bury them and save the children at the same time. Aldrich listened, his face going more serious with each detail. The children are with you now? In the wagon outside, and no other family? Boy says no. Aldrich pulled out a thick book, Territory Law, started flipping pages, his finger running down columns of text written in print, so small it might as well have been in code. Here he tapped a section, Guardianship of Minor Orphans. Says a single man cannot serve as legal guardian unless he can demonstrate. He paused. Read ahead. Unless he can demonstrate stable household arrangements, including a female presence for moral guidance and domestic instruction. What's that mean in regular words? It means you need a wife, Mr. Stone. The words hit like a fist. I don't have a wife. Then you can't keep them. So what happens? Aldrich took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes like this conversation was aging him in real time. They go to the territorial orphanage in Cheyenne, 600 miles east. That's the law. That's insane. That's Wyoming Territory in 1878. He put his glasses back on. I'm sorry, I truly am. But unless you can demonstrate proper household arrangements within 48 hours, I have to notify the territorial office. They'll send someone to collect the children. 48 hours. 2 days to find a wife or lose 2 kids who'd already lost everything. There's got to be another way. There isn't. Aldrich's voice was gentle, but firm. I've looked. Believe me, this law exists for a reason. Too many men out here trying to raise children alone. It doesn't end well. The territory wants stable homes. That means married couples. I stood there, my mind racing through options that didn't exist. What if I promised to bring someone up? A housekeeper? Has to be a wife. Legal marriage. Documented and filed with the territorial office before they send the agent. He checked his calendar. Which means you have until dawn on Saturday. That's when the morning stage leaves. If you can send confirmation on that stage that you've met the requirements, the children stay. If not, he didn't finish. He didn't need to. I spent the rest of that day asking every woman in Ashford if she'd marry me. It went about as well as you'd expect, Mrs. Henderson at the general store. I'm already married, Mr. Stone. Or have you forgotten how matrimony works? Sarah Colton. I appreciate the desperation, but no, Widow Morrison. I'm 63 years old with arthritis, so bad I can barely walk. What exactly would I do on a mountain? By evening I'd been rejected by everyone from the seamstress to the woman who ran the boarding house, some politely, some not. Reverend Webb found me sitting on the church steps around sunset. Heard about your situation, he said. News travels fast in a town this size. Faster than fast. He sat down beside me. You know what you're asking is considerable, I know. You're asking someone to leave their life. Move to a remote cabin. Help raise 2 traumatized children. All with a man they barely know, I know. And you think you'll find someone willing to do that? I didn't answer, because the answer was obviously no. Webb was quiet for a moment. Then, there's a woman. Staying at the boarding house. Been here about 3 weeks. Came from back east after her husband died, and she's adrift. I don't know how else to put it. Lost her daughter some years back. Then her husband sold everything. Came west looking for something she can't name. Maybe she'd listen. What's her name? Lorelei Brennan. Goes by Lore. Used to teach school before everything fell apart. A teacher. That was something. Better than nothing. Where is she now? Webb checked his watch. Probably at the boarding house. Doesn't go out much. Can you take me to her? I can. But, Mr. Stone, what you're proposing, it's not fair to her, or to you. Marriage is sacred. It's not a legal convenience right now, Reverend. It's the only thing standing between those kids and Cheyenne. He nodded slowly, understanding even if he didn't approve. Let me get my coat. Lorelei Brennan wasn't what I expected. I'd pictured someone older, worn down. The kind of woman who'd already given up on life having any good left in it. But Lore was maybe 35. Dark hair pulled back severe. Dressed plain. But her eyes were sharp. Alert. The eyes of someone who'd stopped trusting easy answers. We sat in this boarding house parlor. Webb had made introductions, then disappeared, leaving me to explain the situation to a complete stranger. I told her everything. The rescue, the law, the deadline. I didn't dress it up. Didn't try to sell it as anything other than what it was, desperation. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Let me understand," she finally said. "You want me to marry you, move to your cabin, help raise 2 children I've never met, all within the next 48 hours. Yes, why me? Because Reverend Webbs said you might listen, and I'm out of options. That's honest, at least. I don't have time for anything else." She stood, walked to the window, looked out at the darkening street. "I lost my daughter 3 years ago," she said, her voice flat, like she'd told this story so many times it had lost its edges. "Emma. She was 3 years old. Diphtheria. My husband blamed himself. Thought he should have called the doctor sooner, should have known something was wrong. He died 6 months later. Heart attack. But I think it was grief that killed him." She turned to face me. "I spent 2 years in Connecticut trying to figure out how to keep living. Couldn't do it. Everything there reminded me of them. So I sold the house, sold the furniture, packed trunk, came west, because I heard you could disappear out here. And have you? Disappeared? Not yet. Turns out grief travels." I understood that better than she knew. "So why would I say yes to this?" Lore continued. "Why would I tie myself to a stranger? Take on someone else's tragedy, because maybe you're tired of your own." The words came out harder than I meant, but they were true. She studied me, really looked at me for the first time, like she was trying to see past the beard and the weather-worn skin to whatever was underneath. "What happened to you?" she asked. "Why does a man live alone on a mountain for 11 years? That's not relevant. I think it is. You're asking me to trust you with my life. I deserve to know what kind of man you are. Fair enough." I told her about Matthew, my younger brother. We'd come west together after the war. Planned to make our fortune, stake a claim, build something, got caught in a claim dispute that turned violent. I had a chance to get Matthew out. Should have just run. But I tried to talk our way through it. Tried to negotiate. They shot him while I was talking. I went into the mountains after that, I said. Built the cabin. Stayed away from people. Figured I didn't deserve their company. And the children changed that. The children reminded me that running doesn't fix anything. It just postpones the breaking. Laura sat back down, folded her hands in her lap if I said yes. And that's if. This would be a legal arrangement. Nothing more, I understand. Separate rooms, separate lives. We'd be partners in keeping those children safe. But we wouldn't be. I'm not looking for a real marriage, Mrs. Brennan. I'm looking for a way to keep 2 kids from losing everything twice. She nodded. When would we do this? Tonight. Judge Aldrich can perform the ceremony. We'd need witnesses. Then we'd file the papers tomorrow. Send confirmation on the Saturday stage. And after? When the legal requirement is satisfied. Then you're free to stay or go. Your choice. It was the best I could offer. The only honest thing I had left. Lore stood again. Paced the small parlor. 3 steps one way. 3 steps back. Finally, I want to meet them first. The children, they're at the boarding house stable, with the wagon. Now? Now. Caleb was brushing down my horse when we arrived. Pearl sat on a hay bale, still not talking, but she was watching her brother work. That seemed like progress, Caleb, I said. This is Mrs. Brennan. I've asked her if she'd be willing to help us. Help you and Pearl. Caleb looked at Lore with suspicion. Help how? By marrying me. So you 2 can stay together. The boy's face went through several expressions. Confusion. Understanding. Then something that looked like betrayal. You're getting married to a stranger? For us? Yes, that's crazy, probably. But it's the only legal way to keep you out of Cheyenne. He turned to Lore. Why would you do this? Good question. I wanted to hear the answer too. Lore knelt down, getting to his eye level, because I know what it's like to lose everything. And I know what it's like when someone gives you a chance to hold on to something. Your brother, Mr. Stone, is offering you that chance. I'd like to help. You don't know us? No. But I know what it looks like when children need someone. And I used to be a teacher. I'm good with children. Caleb looked at Pearl. some silent communication passing between them. Brother and sister language that didn't need words. Then Pearl did something unexpected. She slid off the hay bale, walked over to Lore, held out her hand. Lore took it, and Pearl, for the first time in 2 days, smiled. It wasn't much, just the smallest curve of her mouth. But it was something. Okay, Caleb said. Okay, we'll try it. Lore stood, still holding Pearl's hand. Then I suppose we should get married, Mr. Stone. Wyatt, call me Wyatt. Wyatt, I'm Lore. We shook hands, like business partners, like people entering into a contract, which I guess we were. Murphy's Saloon was the only place in Ashford big enough for what came next. Judge Aldrich had suggested I make it public, make it witnessed. The more people who could testify that this was a legitimate ceremony, the stronger our case if the territorial office questioned it. So at 8 o'clock on a Friday night, I walked into Murphy's with Lore on my arm, Caleb and Pearl trailing behind us. The place went quiet, all those faces turning to stare. Men mid-drink, mid-card game, mid-conversation. Everyone stopping to watch the mountain man who never came to town walk in with a woman nobody knew. Murphy himself was behind the bar. Big Irishman with a scar across his forehead from some long ago fight. Stone, you lost? Need to use your establishment. Judge Aldrich is on his way. We're getting married. The silence got deeper, thicker. Then someone laughed. Just one person. But it started a ripple. Within seconds half the saloon was laughing. Not cruel exactly, but the kind of laughter that erupts when something so absurd happens. People don't know how else to respond. They stood there and took it. Let them laugh. Let them think whatever they wanted, until one voice cut through. You're serious, Pete Hancock. Local drunk. Loud mouth. But also the town's unofficial gossip. If Pete believed something, everyone would hear about it. Dead serious. Why the rush? She pregnant? More laughter at that. No. I'm trying to keep 2 orphaned children from being separated and sent to Cheyenne. Let's stop the laughing. People looked at Caleb and Pearl. Saw 2 small scared kids standing in a saloon way past their bedtime. The law says I need a wife to keep them, I continued. Mrs. Brennan has agreed to help. We're getting married tonight, right here, and I need witnesses. The door opened. Judge Aldrich came in, Reverend Webb behind him. Both of them looking uncomfortable but determined. If we're doing this, Aldrich said, let's do it properly. He positioned Lore and me in front of the bar. Caleb and Pearl stood to the side. Webb took a spot as official witness. Tom Murphy reluctantly agreed to be the second. The ceremony was brief, mechanical. None of the romance or joy you'd expect from a wedding. Aldrich asked the required questions. Do you, Wyatt Stone, take this woman? I do. And do you, Lorelei Brennan, take this man? I do. By the authority vested in me by Wyoming Territory, I declare you married in the eyes of the law. No kiss, no cheers. Just a piece of paper that changed everything and nothing at the same time. I'll file this tomorrow, Aldrich said. The confirmation will go out on Saturdays. That should satisfy the territorial office. Thank you, Judge. He looked at both of us. Something like pity in his eyes. I hope you know what you're doing. So did I. We stayed the night at the boarding house. Murphy's wasn't appropriate for children, and the ride back to the cabin in the dark with a woman I just married seemed like too much too fast. Mrs. Keller, who ran the boarding house, gave us 2 rooms, one for Lore, one for me and the kids. This arrangement better be temporary, she muttered. I don't run that kind of establishment. It's temporary, I assured her. Lore went to her room without saying much. Just a quiet good night before closing the door. I got Caleb and Pearl settled in my room. Found them night clothes that were too big. Got them into the narrow bed. Is she really your wife now? Caleb asked, on paper. Yes, what does that mean? It means legally she is. But in reality, we barely know each other. Then why did she say yes? I'd been asking myself the same thing. I think because she understands what it's like to lose people, and she doesn't want you to lose each other. Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then, our mama used to say that family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's just people who show up. Your mama was smart. Yeah, she was. Pearl was already asleep, tucked against her brother, her little hand fisted in his shirt. I blew out the lamp. settled into the chair by the window. Didn't even try to sleep. Tomorrow we'd head back to the cabin. 4 of us now instead of 1. A mountain man, a widow, 2 orphaned kids, a family built on legal necessity and desperate hope. I stared out at the dark street and wondered what the hell I'd just done, and whether any of us would survive it. Dawn came gray and cold. We left Ashford just after sunrise. The wagon packed with supplies Murphy had insisted I take. "You got 4 mouths now," he'd said. "Plan accordingly." Laura sat beside me on the bench. She'd changed into traveling clothes. Practical. Warm. Everything about her suggested someone who knew how to prepare for hardship. Caleb and Pearl were in the back, wrapped in blankets, watching the town disappear behind us. Nobody spoke for the first hour. What was there to say? Finally, Laura broke the silence. "Tell me about the cabin. It's small. 1 main room, 1 small bedroom. I built it myself 11 years ago. Running water? Creek's 50 yards away. Heat? Wood stove. I keep it supplied. And where will I sleep? The bedroom. I'll take the main room." "Near the stove?" She nodded. "Processing. And the children? There's space in the main room. I'll build them a proper area. Privacy, Mr. Stone. Wyatt. I need to be clear about something." I meant what I said. "This is a legal arrangement. We're not, I know. Separate rooms, separate lives. You've made that clear. I just don't want there to be confusion." "There won't be." More silence. The wagon creaked. The horse plodded. The mountain loomed ahead. "Can I ask you something?" Laura said. "Sure. In 11 years. Did you never want to come down? Join civilization?" "No." "Why not?" "Because people ask questions. They want explanations. They want you to be okay. Up there," I gestured toward the mountain, "nobody asks anything, and now I don't have a choice." She looked at me. Really looked. "Do you resent that? The children forcing you back?" I thought about it. Honest answer, I don't know yet. Fair enough, we climbed higher. The air getting thinner, colder, the trees pressing closer. Caleb leaned forward from the back. How much farther? Another hour, maybe 2. It's really isolated up there. Yes, good. His voice was fierce. I don't want to see people for a while. I understood that, too. The cabin looked smaller, with 4 people in it. Laura walked through, her face carefully neutral, taking in the rough walls, the packed dirt floor, the single window, the stove that was my one real achievement in 11 years. "It's rustic," she finally said. "That's one word for it. I've seen worse. I doubted that, but appreciated the lie." Caleb and Pearl explored like it was an adventure. The loft where I stored supplies, the woodpile outside, the creek that had killed their parents but also kept us alive. "Bedrooms through there," I told Laura, pointing to the door I'd hung myself. "It's not much, but it's private." She opened the door, looked inside. A bed, a shelf. "One small window. I'll bring your trunk in." "Thank you." We moved through the afternoon in awkward choreography, me showing Laura where things were, her asking practical questions about water and food, and how we'd manage 4 people in a space built for 1. Caleb stayed close to Pearl, both of them watching Laura with uncertainty. By evening I'd made stew, nothing fancy, just meat and potatoes and whatever vegetables I had left. We sat around the small table, 4 people who barely knew each other, trying to figure out how to be something resembling a family. "Tomorrow," I said, "I'll start building a separate area for Caleb and Pearl. Give you both some space." "Can I help?" Caleb asked. "You know how to hammer?" "Papa taught me something, yes." "You can help." Pearl had barely eaten, just pushed food around her plate. Laura noticed Pearl. She said gently, "You need to eat something." The little girl looked up, eyes huge in her small face. "I know you're not hungry. I know everything feels wrong. But your body needs fuel. Can you try? Just a few bites?" Pearl looked at Caleb. He nodded, so she ate 3 small bites, then put her spoon down. "That's good," Laura said. "That's enough for now." It was such a small thing, but it mattered. This stranger understanding that sometimes 3 bites is all you can manage. After dinner, Laura got the children ready for bed. I heard her in the main room, talking quietly, settling them into the pile of blankets and furs I'd arranged near the stove. I stayed in the kitchen area, cleaning dishes, giving them space. When she finally came out, she looked exhausted. "They're scared," she said. "I know Pearl won't talk to me. Caleb won't let her out of his sight. Give them time. How much time do we have?" "Before the territorial office checks again," Judge said quarterly visits. 3 months. 3 months to convince them this is real." She laughed. But there was no humor in it. "How do we do that when we don't even know each other? We show up every day. We be consistent. Is that enough?" "It has to be." She nodded. Rubbed her face. "I should sleep. Tomorrow will be long, Lore." She stopped at the bedroom door. "Thank you for saying yes, for being here. Don't thank me yet. We don't know if this will work, but you're trying. That's more than anyone else was willing to do." She looked at me, and for just a moment I saw past the careful control. I saw the woman underneath who was just as scared and uncertain as the rest of us. "Good night, Wyatt. Good night." The door closed. I heard her moving around. The creak of the bed as she lay down. I settled into my chair by the stove, watched the fire, listened to the sounds of 3 people breathing in the darkness. This was my life now. 4 people in a cabin built for one. A marriage that wasn't really a marriage. 2 children who needed more than I knew how to give, and somewhere in Cheyenne. A territorial agent who'd be back in 3 months to see if we'd made it work. 3 months, 90 days. To build something real out of desperate necessity, I closed my eyes and hoped like hell it was possible. The first week was hell. Not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind. The kind where nobody yells but everyone's miserable and nobody knows how to fix it. Lore woke before dawn every morning. I'd hear her moving in the bedroom. The rustle of clothes, the soft pad of feet on wood. She'd come out fully dressed, hair already pinned back, ready to work. She never asked what needed doing. Just watched, learned, figured it out. By day 3 she knew where I kept the cornmeal, how I liked my coffee, which logs burned hottest in the stove. By day 5 she'd reorganized my entire supply shelf, put things in order that made actual sense. Flour with other baking goods, tools with tools, medicine separate from food. I came in from chopping wood and just stared. "I hope you don't mind," she said, not apologetic, just stating fact. I couldn't find anything. This is better. It was better. Which annoyed me, because I'd lived here 11 years without needing better. But I just nodded. "Makes sense." She smiled, small, quick, then went back to whatever she was cooking. That was how we talked, in these careful exchanges. Never more than necessary, never less than polite. Like strangers sharing a stagecoach. Trying not to touch. Caleb was different, harder. He didn't trust Lore, didn't trust me. Didn't trust anything except keeping Pearl safe. He shadowed her everywhere. To the creek when she needed water. To the privy. To the garden plot where I'd started teaching her to identify edible plants. "She's fine, Caleb," I'd say. "You can take a break." "I'm not taking breaks. You're 8 years old. You need to be 8. I needed to be 8 2 weeks ago. Now I need to keep my sister alive. What do you say to that?" What argument wins against grief that fresh? So I let him shadow, let him stand guard, let him carry weight that would crush most grown men. And I started teaching him things, practical things, how to set snares, how to read weather, how to sharpen a knife so it could skin a rabbit clean. He soaked it up, desperate for knowledge, for control, for anything that made him feel less helpless. One afternoon we were checking traps. Found a rabbit, clean catch. "Quick Death, your papa teach you to hunt?" I asked. "Some. Before, that's how he marked time now. Before the creek. After, he'd be proud of you." "How you're taking care of Pearl?" Caleb's jaw tightened. "He should be here taking care of her himself. You're right. He should. Then why isn't he?" "Because sometimes life's not fair, and good people die, and the rest of us have to figure out how to keep going." He looked at me. Really looked. "Is that what you did?" "When your brother died, no. I ran. Hid on a mountain for 11 years. You're doing better than I did. Doesn't feel better. It never does. That's the trick nobody tells you." We walked back in silence, but something shifted. Not trust exactly, but maybe the beginning of understanding. Pearl was the mystery. She still wasn't talking. Not to me. Not to Lore. Not even to Caleb most of the time. She'd whisper occasionally, right up against his ear. Words so quiet I couldn't hear them. He'd nod, but respond for her, their own private language, but mostly she was silent. This little ghost moving through the cabin, watching everything, saying nothing. Lore tried. I'll give her that. She never pushed, never demanded Pearl speak or engage or be normal. She just made space, left out paper and a pencil. Pearl would draw sometimes, strange pictures, water, lots of water, swirling, dark. She's drawing the creek. Lore said one evening, studying the pictures, processing the trauma. How do you know? I taught children for 10 years. You learn to read what they can't say. What's it telling you? That she's terrified of water, and that she's trying to make sense of why her parents didn't come back up. I looked at the drawings. All those swirls, all that darkness. Will she talk again? I don't know. Some children do, some don't. We just have to give her time and safety. We don't have unlimited time. Agent's coming back in 3 months. Then we make those 3 months count. She said it with such certainty. Like willpower alone could fix a traumatized 5-year-old. I wanted to believe her, wanted to think this could work, but I'd seen too many broken things stay broken. Week 2 brought Agent Pritchard. I'd been expecting him. Judge Aldrich said there'd be a follow-up to make sure we weren't wrenching some kind of scam. He arrived mid-morning, riding a territorial horse. Official badge pinned to his coat, Mr. Stone. Mrs. Stone, he nodded to both of us. I'm here to conduct the standard household evaluation. Standard. Right, because there was anything standard about this. Lore came out wiping flour from her hands. She'd been making biscuits, filling the cabin with smells that made it feel more like a home than it had in 11 years. Agent Pritchard, please come in. She was good. Calm, collected, like she'd been playing the role of mountain wife her whole life. Pritchard stepped inside, eyes scanning everything, the way the cabin was arranged, the children's sleeping area I'd built, the evidence of 4 people living here. How long have you been married? He asked. 10 days, I said. And how are you adjusting, Mrs. Stone? It's different from Connecticut, but we're managing. The children seem comfortable with you. We're all still getting to know each other. Pritchard turned to me. Where are they? Caleb's helping me with the woodpile. Pearl's nearby. I'll get them. I found Caleb exactly where I'd left him, stacking split logs. Pearl sitting on a stump. Drawing more water pictures? Agents here, I said quietly. Remember what we talked about? Caleb's face went tight. I remember we'd practiced what to say, how to act, not lies exactly, but careful truths. They came inside. Pearl immediately glued herself to Caleb's side. Pritchard knelt down, getting to their level. Hello, I'm Mr. Pritchard. I work for the Territory. I'm here to make sure you're being taken care of. Caleb nodded. We're fine, are you? This is very different from having your parents. Everything's different now. But Mr. Stone and Mrs. Stone are helping. Do you like living here? Caleb hesitated, and I saw him make a choice. Tell the truth, or tell what would keep them together. It's hard, he said. Everything's hard. But it's better than being separated from Pearl. Better than being sent away, smart kid. Honest answer that still served the purpose. Pritchard turned to Pearl. And you? Are you happy here? Pearl just stared at him, those big eyes taking him in, judging. Then she looked at Lore, and did something that surprised everyone. She reached out, took Lore's hand, didn't say anything, but the gesture was clear. This is safe. This person is safe. Lore's face. God. For just a second, all that careful control cracked, and I saw what this meant to her. This tiny gesture of trust. Pritchard saw it too. He stood, brushed dirt from his knees. I'll need to speak with you both. Privately, we stepped outside, left the children inside with instructions to stay put. Pritchard pulled out a small notebook, started writing. I'm going to be honest with you. This situation is unusual, we know, Lore said, but I've seen enough to know when people are trying, and when they're running a con. He looked up. You're trying, both of you. I can see that. Relief hit like a wave. But I kept my face neutral. So we pass? For now, but I'll be back. 3 months. And I'll be looking for progress. Real progress. These children need stability, consistency. Evidence that this household is legitimate and sustainable. Understood. One more thing. He turned to Lore. A man came to the territorial office asking about you, Mr. Stone. Name of Silas Crane. Said he has business with you. My blood went cold. What kind of business? He didn't specify, but he seemed very interested in when I'd be visiting, and what I'd find. Pritchard closed his notebook. Be careful. Men like Crane don't ask questions unless they're planning something. He mounted his horse, tipped his hat, rode back down the mountain. I stood there watching him disappear through the trees. Silas Crane. I knew that name. Land speculator. The kind who bought up claims cheap, pushed out homesteaders, got rich on other people's desperation. Who is he? Laura asked. Trouble? What kind? The kind that sees 4 people on a mountain and thinks vulnerable. She crossed her arms. So what do? We don't do anything. I'll handle it, Wyatt. We're supposed to be partners in this. You can't shut me out every time something difficult happens. I'm not shutting you out. I'm protecting you. I didn't ask to be protected. I asked what we're going to do. She was right, which made it worse. Because I wasn't used to wasn't used to consulting, wasn't used to anything except handling problems alone. We wait, I finally said. See what Crane wants. Then we deal with it. Together? Together, she nodded. Seemed satisfied with that. Went back inside. I stayed outside longer, looking down the mountain, wondering what fresh hell Silas Crane was about to bring to my door. October came brutal. The temperature dropped 20 degrees in a week. Snow started falling, not the light dustings of early autumn, but heavy, serious, the kind that meant winter was coming early and staying late. I worked double time getting us ready, chopping wood, hunting, preserving what meat we could, checking supplies. Laura worked just as hard, learning to render fat, salt meat, make soap from ashes and lard. All the skills frontier living demanded. She never complained. Not about the cold, not about the work, not about the primitive conditions. But I saw it wearing on her, the isolation, the endless gray sky. The way the walls of the cabin seemed to shrink a little more each day. One night after the children were asleep, she sat by the stove, just staring into the fire. You okay? I asked. I'm fine, Lor. She looked up. I forget what it's like. Being around people, going to a market, hearing church bells. All those small things that make you feel connected to the world. You want to go back to town? No, I'm adjusting. That's all. It's hard up here, especially in winter. If you need to go down, take a break, I'd understand. And leave you alone with 2 children you barely know how to care for? No. I made a commitment. This isn't a jail sentence, Lor. You're allowed to need things. What I need is purpose, and right now those children are my purpose. She stood. I'm going to bed. Good night. Another night ending in careful distance. Another day of this strange partnership that wasn't quite friendship, wasn't quite marriage. Just 2 people trying not to fail. The first real snow came week 4. I woke to 3 feet of it. Heavy, wet, the kind that buries everything. Took me 2 hours to dig out the door, clear a path to the woodpile, check on the animals. When I came back inside, Laura had breakfast ready. Hot porridge, coffee, biscuits. It's really coming down, she said. Yeah, we'll be stuck here for a while. Caleb looked up from his bowl. How long depends. Could be a week. Could be a month. Pearl's eyes went wide. A month trapped inside, with strangers, with memories. It'll be okay, Laura said, reading her fear. We'll make it work. We'll play games, tell stories. I'll teach you letters. It'll be an adventure. Pearl didn't look convinced. Neither did I. Being snowed in changed everything. No space, no privacy, no escape from each other's presence. Caleb got restless, pacing like a caged animal, snapping at Pearl, at me, at Lor. I need to get out, he'd say. Can't. Not safe in this weather, I don't care. I can't stay inside any more, Caleb. Sit down. No, that's when Lor stepped in. Caleb, come here. He looked at her, defiant, but something in her voice made him obey. She sat him down at the table, pulled out paper, a pencil. Write it down, she said. Write what? Everything you're feeling. All the anger, all the fear, all the things you can't say. Write them. I don't want to write. I want to leave, I know. But you can't. So you write, or you draw, or you do something with all that feeling before it eats you alive. He stared at her, then at the paper. Then he picked up the pencil, started writing. Furious, messy. Words spilling out like blood from a wound. Lore left him alone. Came over to where I was repairing a trap. "Thank you," I said quietly. "He's drowning. Just like Pearl. He just does it differently. You're good with them." I had practice. Before, her voice caught. Emma was strong-willed too, always pushing boundaries. I had to learn creative ways to redirect her energy. "Tell me about her, if you want." She was quiet for a long time. Then loved birds. Used to stand at the window for hours, watching them, naming them. Made up whole stories about where they were going, who they were visiting. Sounds like she had quite an imagination, she did. I used to think she'd grow up to be a writer, or an artist, someone who saw the world differently. Lore's hands stilled on the mending she'd picked up. Now I'll never know. I'm sorry, me too. We worked in silence after that, but it felt different. Less careful, more honest, like maybe we were starting to see each other as actual people, not just legal obligations. Week 5 tested us all. I'd gone out to check the snare line. Shouldn't have taken more than an hour, but the weather turned. Fast. Wind picked up. Snow came horizontal. Visibility dropped to nothing. I got disoriented. Started walking the wrong direction. By the time I realized my mistake, I was a mile off course. Temperature was dropping fast. My hands going numb. Feet following. I tried to retrace my steps, but the snow had covered my tracks. Everything looked the same. White. Endless. This is how people die, I thought. Not dramatically, just lost, frozen, alone. I kept walking, had to. Stopping meant dying. After what felt like hours, but was probably less. I found a familiar landmark. A dead pine split by lightning. I knew this tree. Knew I was 2 miles north of the cabin. 2 miles. Might as well have been 20. But I walked. 1 foot, then the other, then the first again. My body screaming at me to stop. Lie down. Rest. I didn't stop. Because back at the cabin were 2 children who'd already lost parents, and a woman who'd signed on to help them if I died out here. Everything fell apart. So I didn't die. I walked. I made it back 3 hours late, half frozen, barely conscious, clocks just inside the door. Lore was there instantly, pulling off my wet coat, my frozen boots, yelling at Caleb to add more wood to the stove. "You idiot," she said, her voice shaking. "You absolute idiot. What were you thinking going out in that weather? Had to. Check traps. The traps can wait. Your life can't." She stripped me down to dry clothes, wrapped me in every blanket we owned, made me drink hot broth until I could feel my fingers again. Pearl brought me her drawing. Water, but this time with a person in it, head above the surface. Not drowning. She'd drawn me. "Coming back, thank you, Pearl," I managed. She nodded. Went back to Caleb. Lore sat beside me, still shaking. "Don't do that again." "Do what? Risk yourself like that? We need you. The children need you. I'm fine. You're not fine. You almost died, but I didn't. Wyatt." She grabbed my face. Made me look at her. "You don't get to be reckless anymore. You have people depending on you. That means you come back every time. Understand." I saw it then. The fear in her eyes. The anger. The genuine emotion. This wasn't just about the children. This was about her, too. About this woman who'd signed for a legal arrangement and was finding herself actually caring whether I lived or died. "I'll be more careful," I said. "Promise me." "I promise." She let go. Stood up. Wiped her eyes before anyone could see. "I'm making stew." "You're eating. Then you're sleeping." "Yes, ma'am, that night." As I lay wrapped in blankets near the stove, I heard her in the bedroom, crying, trying to be quiet about it. But I heard, and I understood. She'd already lost too many people. She couldn't lose another, even if that person was just a stranger she'd married out of desperation. Recovery took days, my body punishing me for the risks I'd taken. Lord took over everything. The children, the meals, the daily survival tasks. She was capable. More capable than I'd given her credit for. One morning I woke to find her outside, chopping wood. Not gracefully, but effectively. Getting the job done. Caleb was with her. Stacking the pieces she split. Pearl sat on the step, keeping watch. Through the window it looked almost normal. A mother working, children helping, a family doing what families do. Except we weren't a family. We were a legal arrangement held together by fear and necessity, but watching them, I wondered, what if we could be? Week 8 brought a breakthrough. Pearl started writing, not talking, but writing. Laura had been teaching her letters, how to form words on paper, giving her another way to communicate when her voice wouldn't work. One evening Pearl brought me a piece of paper, folded careful, held it out. I opened it. Thank you for saving us. 5 words in careful child's handwriting. 5 words that hit harder than any speech. You're welcome. Pearl, she smiled, small, quick, but real, then went back to Caleb. Laura was watching from across the room. Our eyes met, and something passed between us, recognition, pride, hope. Maybe this could work. Maybe we could actually do this. Week 10 brought visitors. I heard horses outside. Multiple, not normal for winter. Grabbed my rifle, went to the door. 5 men, well-dressed, well-armed. Led by someone I recognized from description, Silas Crane. He was younger than I expected, maybe 40. Good-looking in that polished way that came from money and privilege. Smile that didn't reach his eyes, Mr. Stone. Finally, I've been wanting to meet you. We don't get many visitors up here, I can see why. Quite remote. Must be difficult. Especially with a new wife and children. He looked past me, trying to see inside. May we come in? Discuss a business proposition? No. Say what you need to say here. His smile tightened. Very well. I'm interested in purchasing your land, this whole section. I'm prepared to offer you $5,000. That's well above fair value. It's not for sale. Mr. Stone, be reasonable. You're struggling to feed 4 people on this mountain. Winter's barely started. You'll run out of supplies. Run out of options. Take my offer. Move somewhere easier. Somewhere better for those children. I said, no, I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to take what's mine. And I'm telling you it's not happening. Crane's expression hardened. Think carefully. This is a generous offer. The alternative is less pleasant. That a threat? That's a fact. Land disputes can be complicated, especially when ownership is questionable. My ownership isn't questionable. I've been here 11 years. Filed proper claim, have you? Funny thing about frontier claims. Paperwork gets lost. Records get confused. Without proper documentation, land becomes available to whoever can prove better title. My grip tightened on the rifle. Get off my property. I'm trying to make this easy. Get off my property. He stared at me, weighing options, then smiled, that same empty smile, as you wish. But, Mr. Stone, think about those children. Think about your new wife. Ask yourself if pride is worth their suffering. He turned his horse. Rode off as men, leaving tracks as I stood there until they disappeared. Then went inside. Laura was standing by the stove. She'd heard everything. He's going to cause trouble, she said. I know. What kind? The kind where he'll try to take this land legally. Through paperwork, claims, making my title look invalid. Can he do that? If he's got the right connections, right money. Yeah, he can try. She was quiet for a moment. Then we fight, we? Yes, we. This is my home now, too. These children need stability. We don't give that up because some wealthy man wants what we have. I looked at her. This woman who'd been here 2 months, who'd gone from stranger to partner without either of us quite realizing when it happened. Okay, I said. We fight. That night after the children slept, Laura and I sat by the fire, planning. We need to check my land claim, he said. Make sure all the paperwork's filed, all the records accurate. How do we do that? Go to the territorial office. In person. Verify everything. That's a 2-day trip minimum. In winter, I know, so we go together. Take the children. Make sure Crane can't do anything while we're gone, or I go alone. You stay here with them. No, we go together. We're safer together. She was right. But I didn't like it. Didn't like putting her at risk. Putting the children in danger. But what choice did we have? We'll go after the weather clears, I decided. Make the trip when it's safest. Agreed. We sat in silence. The fire crackling. The wind howling outside. Wyatt, yeah? Thank you. For what? For letting me help. For not shutting me out. You're my wife. On paper, anyway. That means we're in this together. On paper, she repeated. Something unreadable in her voice. Yeah, what if? She stopped. Started again. What if it became more than paper? My heart did something strange in my chest. Lore. I'm not saying now, I'm just asking. Hypothetically, would that be something you'd want? Would I want this woman who'd proven herself strong and capable and braver than anyone I'd ever met? Would I want this partnership to become real? I think I chose my words carefully. I think we should focus on surviving winter, keeping the children safe, dealing with Crane, and then, maybe then, we can talk about what this is. She nodded. That's fair, but something had shifted again. Another small earthquake in the foundation we were building. This wasn't just legal arrangement anymore. It was something else. Something neither of us quite knew how to name. Week 11 brought the hardest test yet. Caleb got sick, started with a cough, then fever, then this horrible rattling in his chest that kept him up all night. Pearl was terrified. Wouldn't leave his side, wouldn't sleep. Just sat there watching her brother struggle to breathe. Laura and I took turns, keeping the fever down, making him drink, putting hot compresses on his chest. It's pneumonia, Laura said on the third day. He needs medicine we don't have. I can ride to town, get supplies in this weather. With Crane's men watching, that's exactly what he wants. You leaving, us vulnerable, then what do? We keep him warm, keep him hydrated. Pray, pray. I hadn't prayed in 11 years, not since Matthew died, but that night. With Caleb's breathing getting worse, I found myself doing it anyway. Please, not this kid. Not after everything he's been through. Please. Day 4, the fever broke. Caleb opened his eyes. Looked at me, Wyatt. Yeah, kid. I'm here. Pearl okay? Of course that was his first question, not about himself, about his sister. She's fine. Worried about you. Tell her I'm okay. Tell her yourself. Pearl had been sleeping, exhausted from days of vigil, but she woke at his voice, scrambled over, threw her arms around him. He held her, this 8-year-old boy who'd carried more weight than most grown men. I'm okay, Pearl. I'm okay. She nodded against his chest, then pulled back, took the paper and pencil she always kept close, wrote, Don't leave me. Never, Caleb promised. I'll never leave you. Laura was watching from the doorway. Tears streaming down her face, I went to her, put my hand on her shoulder. He's okay, I said, this time. But what about next time? What about when something worse happens and we can't fix it? We deal with it, same as we're dealing with everything else. I can't lose another child, Wyatt. I can't. And there it was, the fear underneath everything. She wasn't just helping us. She was trying to save herself. You won't, I said, even though I had no right to promise that. We'll keep them safe. She looked at me. How can you be so sure? I'm not. But I'm choosing to believe it anyway. She leaned into me. Just for a moment. Let herself be held. And I held her. This woman I'd married out of desperation, who was becoming something I couldn't afford to lose. By week 12 the children had transformed. Caleb smiled sometimes. Actually smiled. Usually when he mastered some new skills I'd taught him. Pearl wrote more. Her vocabulary growing, her confidence building. One evening she brought Laura a note. Thank you for staying, Laura cried again. Seemed like she was always crying lately. But happy tears. Relief tears. You're welcome, sweetheart. I'm not going anywhere. Pearl hugged her, actually initiated contact. Pressed her small body against Laura's and held on. That's when I knew. We'd crossed some invisible line. This wasn't legal arrangement anymore. This was family, messy, complicated, built on trauma and necessity. But family nonetheless. The day Agent Pritchard was due back, I woke with dread in my stomach. 3 months. We'd made it 3 months. But was it enough? Had we proven this was real? That we could do this? Laura was already up, making the cabin perfect, straightening, cleaning, making sure everything looked proper. He'll see through it if we try too hard, I said. I know. But I can't just sit here. The children were nervous, too. Caleb pacing, Pearl clinging to her drawings. When Pritchard finally arrived, he looked tired. Like the winter had been hard on him, too, Mr. Stone, Mrs. Stone, children. He nodded to each of us. I'm here for the quarterly evaluation, of course. Come in. He sat at our table, pulled out his notebook. Started asking questions. How were the children eating, sleeping, learning? Were there any problems? Any concerns? Laura answered most of them. Calm, professional. giving evidence of progress without bragging. Then he turned to Caleb. "How are things, really?" Caleb looked at me. "At Lore, at Pearl. Making some calculation. It's hard," he said. "Some days I wake up and forget Mama, Papa are gone. Then I remember, and it hurts all over again." Pritchard nodded. "That's normal. That's grief, but Mr. Stone and Mrs. Stone, they help, not by making it better, but by being there, by not giving up on us. Do you feel safe here?" "Yeah, I do. And you?" Pritchard looked at Pearl. "What about you?" Pearl picked up her paper, wrote slowly, then held it up. "This is home, 3 words." But they said everything. Pritchard read them, closed his notebook. "Stood, I've seen enough," he said. "This placement is approved for continued monitoring. I'll be back in 6 months. Barring any issues." Relief crashed over me like a wave. "Thank you," Lore said. "Don't thank me. You did the work." He headed for the door. Stopped. "Oh, one more thing. That man, Silas Crane, he's been making noise. Claiming your land title is fraudulent. Claims he has documentation proving prior ownership. That's a lie, maybe. But he's got lawyers, good ones. You should get your records in order." Soon after he left, I stood at the window, watching him ride away. We passed inspection. But Crane was still circling, still plotting. This wasn't over. That night, after the children were asleep, Laura came and sat beside me. "We did it," she said. "First hurdle. More to come, I know. But tonight, can we just celebrate a little?" I looked at her, really looked, at this woman who'd become my partner, my friend. "Maybe more, yeah," I said. "We can celebrate," she smiled, reached out, took my hand. And we sat there, hands clasped, 2 people who'd started as strangers, who'd become something neither of us quite understood yet. But whatever it was, it felt right. It felt like maybe, just maybe, we were going to be okay. Spring came late to the mountain, but it came. The snow melted in patches, revealing brown earth, dead grass, the skeletons of winter slowly giving way to something that might become life again. I stood at the edge of the clearing, watching water drip from the cabin roof, listening to the creek run high and fast with snow melt. 4 months. We'd survived 4 months together. 4 people who started as strangers, who'd become something I still didn't have words for. Behind me I could hear Lore teaching the children, her voice patient, steady, walking Pearl through letters, helping Caleb with arithmetic. She'd turned a corner of the cabin into a schoolroom, organized, structured, giving them something that felt normal. I'd built them desks, simple, rough, but functional. Caleb had helped, learning carpentry, learning to create instead of just survive progress. That's what Pritchard would call it when he came back. But it felt like more than that. It felt like healing. Slow, painful, but real. "Wyatt," Lore's voice from the doorway. "Can you come here?" I went inside. She was holding a letter, face pale. "What is it?" "From the Territorial Land Office. Silas Crane has filed a formal challenge to your claim. Says he has documentation from 1866. Proving prior ownership of this section." My stomach dropped. "That's impossible. I filed in 1867. There was nothing here. He's requesting a hearing in Ashford. 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks. To prove this land was mine. To fight a man with money and lawyers and no conscience." Caleb was watching from his desk. "What does that mean?" I looked at him. This kid who'd already lost so much, who'd finally started feeling safe. "It means someone wants to take our home, and we have to fight to keep it. Can we win?" Honest answer. "I didn't know. We're going to try." The next morning I rode to Ashford, left Lore with the children, my rifle, instructions to barricade the door if anyone came. Judge Aldrich was in his office, going through papers. He looked up when I entered. "Mr. Stone, I was wondering when you'd show up. You heard about Crane's challenge?" "Whole town's heard. He's been talking, making noise about fraud, illegal claims. Says your paperwork's fake. It's not fake. I filed proper." "You know that." "I know what you told me. But Crane's got documentation, surveys, a deed that supposedly predates yours." He pulled out a file. "Look at this." I studied the papers. They looked official. Stamps, signatures, dates from 1866. But something was wrong. The survey map didn't match the land. The section markers were off, the description vague. "This isn't my land," I said. Look at the coordinates. They're describing a section 2 miles east, you sure? I've walked every foot of my property for 11 years. I know where the boundaries are. Aldrich studied the papers again. He's betting no one will check. That the hearing officer will see official-looking documents and side with him. So what do? Get your original filing, the survey you had done, any proof you have that you were first, and pray it's enough, and if it's not... He looked at me, sympathy in his eyes. Then you lose the land, and with it, probably the children, because without stable housing, without proof of permanence, Pritchard would have no choice but to remove them. Everything we'd built. Gone. Just like that. I spent 2 days tracking down records. My original land claim from 1867, the survey I'd paid for. Witness statements from people who'd seen me here. It wasn't much. But it was something Lore helped. Writing letters, organizing documents, making sure everything was in order. We need more, she said. We need something that proves Crane's documents are fake. How do we do that? We find out who forged them, she said it so calmly. Like tracking down a forger was just another household chore, Lore. That's dangerous, so is losing our home, our home. She'd said it without thinking. But I heard it. This wasn't just my cabin anymore. It was ours. I'll look into it, I said. We'll look into it. No, you stay here. Keep the children safe, Wyatt. Stop trying to protect me. I'm not fragile. I know you're not. But if something happens to me, they need you. She grabbed my arm, made me look at her. And if something happens to you, I need me to have helped, to have tried. Don't shut me out. Not now, God. This woman, fierce and stubborn and absolute, refusing to be sidelined. Fine. We do this together. We found the forger in a boarding house in Ashford, a clerk who'd been fired from the land office 3 years ago, drinking himself to death 1 bottle at a time. His name was Wallace. Thin, shaking, reeking of whiskey and failure, Lore approached him. I hung back. She'd insisted. Said he'd talk to a woman easier than a man, Mr. Wallace. I'm Mrs. Stone. I need to ask you about some documents. He looked up. Eyes bloodshot. Don't know nothing about no documents. Documents for Silas Crane. Land deeds. Dated 1866. Fear flashed across his face. Can't talk about that, please. We need your help. Crane will kill me if I talk. Crane will kill you anyway. Once he doesn't need you any more, she sat down beside him, gentle. But if you help us, testify, we can protect you. How? You're nobody. He's got money. Connections. We've got the truth. That has to count for something. He laughed. Bitter, empty. Truth don't mean nothing when you're dealing with men like Crane. Then do it for yourself. For what's left of your conscience. She reached into her bag, pulled out money, $20. More than we could spare. This is yours, whether you help or not. But if you testify, there's more. Enough to get you somewhere new. Start over. Wallace stared at the money, at Lore, at me standing in the shadows. What do you need to know? The hearing was held in the Ashford Town Hall, makeshift courthouse. About 40 people showed up. Curious, invested, ready for a show. Silas Crane sat at one table, 3 lawyers with him, all expensive suits and confident smiles. Lore and I sat at the other, just us, and a stack of documents that felt too thin. The hearing officer was a man named Blackwell, from the territorial capital, professional, stern, not local, which meant no one could claim bias. Mr. Crane, present your case. Crane stood, smooth, polished. Thank you, Mr. Blackwell. The facts are simple. In 1866, my associate, Daniel Hartford, filed claim on the section of land currently occupied by Mr. Stone. Here is the documentation. He laid out the deed, the survey, everything official and impressive. Mr. Hartford died in 1872. The claim passed to me as his business partner. I've been paying taxes on this land for years, but Mr. Stone has been squatting illegally for over a decade. Murmurs in the crowd. People shifting, uncomfortable. Blackwell studied the documents. Mr. Stone, your response? I stood, my hands shaking slightly, not from fear, from rage. Mr. Crane's documents are fake. The survey he's showing describes land 2 miles east of my cabin. The section markers don't match. And Daniel Hartford, the man supposedly filing this claim, died in 1871, not 1872. 1 year before Crane claims to have inherited, more murmurs. Louder now. Crane's smile tightened. That's a minor error in dates. Hardly evidence of fraud. It's evidence you didn't know Hartford. Didn't work with him. Just used his name on false documents. That's slander. It's truth. And I can prove it. Lore stood. Nodded to me. Time. We have a witness, I said. Someone who was there when these documents were created. Wallace shuffled in from the back, looking terrified. But present, state your name, Blackwell said. Robert Wallace, former clerk at the Territorial Land Office, and what do you know about these documents? Wallace's voice shook. I made them. Crane paid me $200, gave me Hartford's name, told me what to write. I forged the whole thing. Explosion. People standing, shouting. Crane on his feet yelling about lies and frame-ups and conspiracies. Blackwell slammed his gavel. Order. Order. It took 5 minutes to settle everyone down, Mr. Wallace. You're confessing to forgery? Yes, sir. Why? Because I'm tired of being scared. Tired of hiding. And because Mrs. Stone asked me to do the right thing. He looked at Lore, gratitude in his eyes, like she'd saved him instead of the other way around. Blackwell turned to Crane. Do you have any response to this testimony? The man's a drunk. Unreliable. Probably paid by Stone to lie. With what money? I said. I barely have enough to feed my family. You think I can afford to bribe witnesses? Nevertheless, no. Blackwell held up his hand. I've heard enough, Mr. Crane. Your claim is denied. The documentation is clearly fraudulent. Mr. Stone's original filing from 1867 stands. This land is his. The weight lifted. All at once. Like I'd been holding my breath for weeks and could finally exhale. But Crane wasn't done. This isn't over. I'll appeal. Take this to the Territorial Supreme Court if I have to. You can try, Blackwell said, but I'd advise against it. Attempting to steal land through forgery is a criminal offense. You're lucky I'm not having you arrested right now. Crane stared at him. At me, at Lore, pure hatred in his eyes. Then he turned, walked out, his lawyers scrambling after him. The room erupted in noise. People congratulating me, shaking my hand, treating this like some kind of victory celebration. But I just looked at Lore. This woman who'd found Wallace, convinced him to testify. Saved our home. She met my eyes, and for the first time in months I saw her smile. Really smile. Not the careful, polite expression she wore for strangers, but genuine joy. We did it, she said. You did it. No, we did it. Together, that night back at the cabin, we told the children. Caleb's face went through surprise, then understanding, then this fierce protectiveness. So we really get to stay? He asked. We really get to stay. Forever? Forever. What did that even mean anymore? But looking at these kids, at this woman, at this life we'd accidentally built, yeah. Forever Pearl had been quiet, listening, processing. Then she pulled out her paper, drew quickly, held it up the cabin, trees, mountains, and 4 stick figures standing in front, words underneath in her careful handwriting. Home. Just that one word, but it said everything. Spring turned to summer, the mountain transformed, green replacing white. Life returning. Caleb and I worked the garden, planting, weeding, creating food that would carry us through next winter. Pearl helped Lore with everything. Cooking, cleaning, learning, her voice getting stronger every day. One afternoon she brought me a drawing, not Waters this time, 4 people holding hands. This is us, she said, out loud. Full sentence. It's beautiful, Pearl. We're a real family now, right? The question hung there, heavy with everything she'd lost, everything she was afraid to hope for. Yeah, I said. We're a real family, she smiled, then ran back till Caleb appeared beside me. She's getting better, she is, because of you, and Lore, because she's strong. You both are. He was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you love Lore? The question hit direct, honest, impossible to dodge. Why do you ask? Because I see how you look at her, how she looks at you. It's different than it was, smart kid. Too smart. I care about her, I said carefully. She's important. That's not what I asked. No, it wasn't. I don't know, I admitted. This started as a way to keep you kids safe, but it's become something else. Mama used to say, love isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a choice you make every morning. When you decide to stay, Your mama was wise, so you do love her. You just haven't decided to admit it yet." He picked up his hoe, went back to work, leaving me standing there with thoughts I didn't know what to do with. That evening, after the children were asleep, Laura and I sat outside, watching the sun set over the mountains. We did this most nights now, this quiet ritual, sharing space, comfortable silence. But tonight the silence felt different, heavier. "Caleb talked to me today," I said, "about, he thinks I love you." The words hung in the air, heavy, terrifying. Laura was very still. "What do you think?" "I think. I don't know how to do this." "Do what?" "This. Feelings. Relationships. I've been alone so long I forgot how people connect. So have I. But you were married before. You know how it works. Knowing and doing are different things." She turned to look at me. "My marriage to Thomas. It was good. We loved each other. But we were young. We grew into it. This is different. We're building it backwards. Marriage first. Everything else after. Does that work? I don't know. But I'd like to find out." My pulse kicked up, heat spreading through my chest in a way that felt both terrifying and right. "Laura, I can't promise I'll be good at this. Can't promise I won't mess it up. I'm not asking for promises. I'm asking if you want to try. Really try. To make this more than just legal arrangement. Did I want to risk my heart again? Want to let someone in that deep?" I looked at her. This woman who'd said yes when no one else would. Who'd stayed when she could have left. Who'd fought beside me. Taught the children. Made a home out of my lonely cabin. "Yeah," I said. "I want to try." She reached over, took my hand, and we sat there, hands clasped. Two broken people choosing to be whole together. The next weeks moved like water finding its course. Natural. Inevitable. Laura moved into the main bedroom. With me. Not just her things in my space, but shared space. Our space. It felt right. Like this is what should have been all along. The children noticed. Caleb grinned every time he saw us together. Pearl drew pictures of the four of us over and over. Her way of making permanent what she was afraid might disappear. "She's making sure," Laura explained one evening, looking at the latest drawing. "Every picture is a promise to herself that this is real. That we'll stay, will we?" "Stay? I'm not going anywhere. Are you?" "No. This is home, then we'll stay. Simple as that. A decision made. A future chosen." Ogg brought Agent Pritchard back. 6 months. Right on schedule. But this time I wasn't nervous. Wasn't worried about passing inspection, because this wasn't performance anymore. This was real. Pritchard saw it immediately. The way we moved around each other. The way the children interacted with us. The organic rhythm of a household that had found its balance. "Remarkable," he said after his evaluation. "When I left in February I had doubts. Serious doubts. But this is genuine." "Thank you," Laura said. "Don't thank me. You did the work." He packed up his notebook. "I'm removing you from active monitoring. You'll still be registered with the Territory. But no more surprise visits, no more evaluations. As far as I'm concerned, this placement is permanent. Permanent." The word carried weight I hadn't expected. After he left, Caleb turned to me. "Does this mean nobody can take us away now?" "That's what it means. Even if you and Laura. If something happened between you two." I understood what he was asking. If this relationship fell apart, would they be safe? "Even then," I said, "you're ours. On paper. In law." No matter what, relief washed over his face then, quietly. "But nothing's going to happen, right? Between you two?" I looked at Laura. She waiting for my answer. "No," I said, "nothing's going to happen. We're in this, all of us. Together." Caleb nodded, satisfied. Went back to his book. But Laura's eyes stayed on me, and in them I saw, not just relief, but something deeper. Commitment that matched my own. That night we celebrated. Laura made a special dinner, used up supplies we'd been saving. Pearl insisted we all sit together, close, like the pictures she drew. "Speech," Caleb announced. "Papa should make a speech, Papa. He'd started calling me that a few weeks ago. Just slipped it in casual. Like it had always been that way. I'm not good at speeches." "Try anyway." I looked at the three of them, these people who'd become my world. 6 months ago, I said. We were strangers, thrown together by law and desperation. I didn't know if we'd make it a week, let alone this. Pearl was listening. Intent. Caleb too, but you taught me something. All of you I had to stop. Clear my throat. You taught me that family isn't just the people you're born to. It's the people who choose to stay, when staying's is hard, when leaving would be easier. Laura's hand found mine under the table, so thank you for staying, for making this cabin feel like a home, for being my family. Our family, Caleb corrected. Our family, I agreed. We ate together, talked, laughed. Pearl told a whole story, 6 sentences, about a bird she'd seen that morning. It was ordinary, completely ordinary, and that's what made it extraordinary. September brought the first hints of autumn, leaves turning, air getting sharper. Caleb turned 9. We celebrated with cake Laura baked, candles we'd traded for in town, presents we'd made ourselves. I'd carved him a hunting knife, handle shaped to fit his hand, blade sharp enough to be useful, dull enough to be safe. For when you're ready, I said, to hunt on your own. His eyes went wide. Really? Really? You've earned it. He held it like it was made of gold. Thank you, Papa. That word, every time. Hit me square in the chest. Pearl gave him a drawing. The 2 of them, standing together. Words underneath. Best brother ever. He hugged her. Hard. Best sister, he whispered back. Laura gave him a book. Real book. From the store in town. Adventures of someone I'd never heard of. It's about a boy who goes on a journey, she said. I thought you might like it. I love it. He was already flipping pages, already lost in the story. We spent the evening reading together, taking turns. Even Pearl read a page, slow, careful, but she did it. When the children finally went to bed, exhausted and happy, Laura and I sat by the fire. That was a good day, she said. Yeah, it was, Wyatt. I need to tell you something. The seriousness in her voice made me turn. Look at her fully. What is it? When I came west, when I agreed to marry you, I thought I was doing it for the children, to help them, to have purpose, okay. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being about them and started being about us. About you. My heart hammered against my ribs. I'm not good at this either, she continued, at saying what I feel. Thomas and I, we loved each other, but it was easy. We grew up together, knew each other's families. It all made sense. And this doesn't? This makes no sense at all. Marrying a stranger, living on a mountain, raising someone else's children. She looked at me. But it's the most right thing I've ever done. And I think I love you, not because I have to, but because I choose to. There it was, laid bare, honest, terrifying. I love you too, I said, the words easier than I'd expected. I've been trying not to, trying to keep this just, practical, safe. But I can't. Do you want to? No, I want this, you, all of it. Even though it scares me too. She leaned into me. I wrapped my arm around her. We sat like that for a long time, just breathing together, being together. No ceremony needed, no vows. Just 2 people acknowledging what had been growing between them for months. True. Ours, winter came again. This time we were ready. Supplies stocked, wood chopped, systems in place. And this time the isolation felt different. Not lonely, not desperate, just peaceful. One evening Laura's was teaching Pearl to knit. Caleb and I were repairing a trap by the fire. Wyatt, Caleb said quietly. Yeah, I'm glad we ended up here. With you and Laura. Me too, kid. I still miss my parents. Every day. But this is good too. Different, but good. Your parents would be glad you're safe. That you're happy. You think so? I know so. That's what parents want. For their kids to be okay. Even when they can't be there. He nodded, absorbing that. I'm going to tell Pearl that. She worries sometimes. That being happy means forgetting them. Tell her. Both can be true, missing them. And loving this I will, later that night. After the children slept, Laura and I lay in bed. Her head on my chest, my arm around her. Do you regret it? She asked. That night in the saloon. When I said yes, which part? The marriage or what came after? All of it. I thought about it. Honest answer? No best accident I ever made. Accident? Happy accident. The kind that changes everything. I used to think I'd left my life behind in Connecticut, she said. But I didn't leave, I found. This, you, them, all of it. No regrets? Not a single one. We lay there in comfortable darkness, listening to the children breathe in the next room, listening to the wind outside, the crackle of the dying fire. This was what home felt like. Not a place, but people, connection. The choice to stay when leaving would be easier. Spring returned. 1 year since that desperate night in Murphy's saloon. 1 year since strangers became family. The garden came back stronger. The creek ran high and loud with snowmelt. The mountain showed us its beauty instead of its teeth. One afternoon I found Lore at the edge of the clearing, staring out at the view. "You okay?" I was thinking about Emma, about Thomas, about the life I had before. Miss it? Parts of it. But I wouldn't trade this. Not for anything, not even to have them back. She turned to me. "That's not a choice I get to make. They're gone, and I can't live in the past. I tried that. It nearly killed me." "So you're choosing this, us?" "Even with all the hardship, especially with the hardship. Because hardship shared is bearable, and joy shared is doubled. That's what makes it worth it. We stood together, looking out at the land we'd fought for, the home we'd built, the life we'd chosen." "Thank you," I said. "For what?" "For saying yes, that night. When you had every reason to say no, you're thanking me. You gave me a family, a home, a life I didn't know I wanted. We gave each other that. Yeah, we. Summer brought long days. Hard work, good work. The kind that made muscles ache and spirits soar. Caleb was nearly as tall as Lore now. Growing fast. Learning faster. Pearl talked in full sentences. Laughed freely. Drew pictures that weren't about trauma anymore. Just life, birds, trees, flowers, the world as she saw it now. One evening we all sat outside, watching fireflies, listening to the mountain sounds. "Tell us a story, Papa," Pearl said. "About when you first came here. What kind of story?" "A happy one." I thought about it. 11 years of solitude. Not a lot of happy. There aren't many happy stories from back then. Then tell us about now. About us. So I did. I told them about the day I heard screaming, about pulling 2 children from Thunder Creek, about riding to Ashford with no idea what to do, about a woman in a boarding house who said yes when she should have said no, about building something real from desperate necessity. Caleb and Pearl listened, even though they'd lived it, even though they knew, because stories matter. Even when you know how they end. Lore's hand found mine, squeezed. "And they all lived happily ever after?" Pearl asked. "I don't know about ever after," I said. "But right now, yeah, we're happy. That's good enough," she said. And it was that night, after the children finally went to sleep. Lore and I sat in our spot. "Our ritual. 1 year," she said. "Feels like longer. Feels like we've always been this. Yeah, Wyatt? I'm happy. Really happy. For the first time in years. Me too. Even with everything. The isolation. The hard work. The constant worry about supplies and weather and keeping everyone safe. Even with all that. Because of all that." She turned to look at me. "Why?" "Because being alone was easy. Safe. Nothing could hurt me up here. But it also meant nothing could touch me. No joy, no connection, no life. I pulled her closer. You changed that. You and those kids. You made me feel again. Even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. And that's worth everything. We saved each other," she said. "Didn't we?" "Yeah, I think we did." We sat in comfortable silence. The mountain dark around us. The stars bright above. Somewhere at the cabin," Pearl called out. Not a nightmare this time. Just checking we were still there. "We're here," Lore called back. "Right outside. Okay." "Love you. Love you too, sweetheart," Caleb's voice. Sleepy. "Love you both. Love you, kid," I called back, then silence. Peaceful silence. "This is it," Lore said. "Isn't it? This is what we were looking for. Both of us. We just didn't know it. Yeah. This is it? Think it'll last?" "I don't know. But I'm choosing it every day." "That's all I can promise. That's all I need." We went inside together. To our family, our home, our life, the one we'd built from desperation and hope, from legal necessity and real love. The one that started with a stranger saloonist saying yes when everyone else said no. The one that taught me, finally, after all those years alone, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let people in, even when it's terrifying. Especially when it's terrifying, because that's what makes it real. We stood in the doorway, watching the children sleep. Caleb with one arm flung out, Pearl curled tight, safe, loved. "Home, ready for bed?" Lore whispered. "Yeah." We went to our room, our bed, our life together. And I slept deeply, peacefully, Not because everything was perfect, but because I'd finally stopped running, finally let myself be found. By a woman brave enough to say yes. By children who needed someone to stay. By a life I never planned but couldn't imagine living without. This was home. This was family. This was love, built from necessity, forged in hardship, chosen every day. And I wouldn't trade it for anything, not for safety, not for certainty, not for the isolated peace I'd thought I wanted, because this messy, beautiful, terrifying, perfect life was worth every risk, every single time.